Happy Friday, Pat and Jessica. Yahoo.
Happy Friday.
Welcome to our duo in the desert here. So we call this the Mick Report. It's McHone and McMasters, where we just kind of recap the week and everything. But we've got you on board today for a couple good reasons. One, you're smart. And Pat and I need some more IQ on this channel. And
You're much better looking too.
Yeah, you got that. Well, Pat, you are the ruggedly handsome Pat McMaster. we got Chat GPT to confess to that, so we put it to music and everything. But want to make an announcement today that's a big deal for me, and hopefully it's a big deal for you guys too. I am partnering up with Jessica at Agave Investments and Homes LLC, or Homes and Investments LLC, effective on Monday. Yahoo!
Yes. Welcome to the team.
Yeah.
Huge implications in the real estate world.
It is. It'll be on Fox Business News tonight and CNN later in the week.
I guarantee. Guarantee it will be.
But it's the reason for this. I think it's kind of easier to pivot when you're smaller. And Jessica, you've got your own brokerage, and we can still refer things out to the West Valley where we don't tend to go that often. But on top of that, you have access to the Tucson MLS, and that's going to be a big deal for us. So we'll be able to answer questions on here that I haven't been able to do. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you. So it's going to be fun. We both live out in the Mesa area, and so it's going to be easier to collaborate quite a bit. And we have our own new website that has direct MLS access, in which most do, but this is quicker. This takes you right to the same MLS that we use. So if a new listing comes on, you know immediately, and you can get in there and you can filter out your own searches, create your own portal. It's faster than the big guys like Zillow. And we know that when we start you with a home search, that we start using the MLS and you gravitate to Zillow. I'm hoping that you can come to this one and you'll enjoy it more. And you can get there by azinvest.com or rickhelps.com. So they're both going to go to the same spot. And mine is effective today, even though I'm not making the move till Monday. So keep that between us. So it's like LeBron James announcing his new team. Absolutely. We are ready to go. And Pat, always there to help us as usual. And I also wanted to talk today. I was going to talk about rates today. Everybody's expecting the March reductions, right? And when's the meeting? Next week?
Yeah, next week. They're Wednesday.
And everybody knows they're not going to lower the rates. And so it's like, well, let's talk about that. And lo and behold, the National Association of Realtors settles today in that huge class action lawsuit. That was $1.8 million. They settled for $418 million. Huge headlines. New York Times broke it first, not NAR. You'd think they would have sent us an email right away, but the New York Times broke it first. Jackie, welcome. Thank you. And so everybody's all buggered up about this. Now I'll explain it a little bit. The class action lawsuit said that there was collusion on commissions. We're all working together. We get together we're price fixing meetings every Wednesday at the Hen House Cafe, and we I'm going to do 2.5 this week. Jessica, what do you? Oh, they're going to go 3. Okay.
But big insider trading news.
Yeah, that's right. We've blown the cover up that. Agents have been able to set their own commissions forever, unless you're with some of the big guys that kind of tell you not to. But there's no collusion between Coldwell Banker and Century 21 and Remax and Rick Helps. There isn't. And I don't think the NAR attorneys did a very good job of explaining the industry to lawyers and judges. Therefore, they lost $1.8 billion was the judgment. So now they came out, and here's what they said today, that you're not allowed, if you have a listing, to offer a commission, to put what the commission is you're offering a buyer's agent on the multiple listing service. You don't get to put it there. With the goal being that as I'm looking for homes to show, I'm not going to do what's called staring. I'm not going to go, well, this one pays 2.5. This one only pays 1. Ooh, I'm not going to take her there. So they want to get rid of that. But they never said that you had to offer compensation. Never. They said if you can offer $1. They never said how much you have to offer. Let me put it that way. They said you must offer some type of compensation, but it's up to you. You can say, I'll offer the buyer's agent $500. Well, are you going to show a home for $500 and work on it for a month and a half to get it closed, Jessica?
Of course I am. But I think that's the
I
correct
knew that.
answer.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course
the
I
correct
am.
answer. Yeah, and
Good answer.
Do
so
I want to?
Yeah.
Preferably not. No.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so now your commission, you've got your own brokerage. Your commissions are never fixed. In fact, you've crafted a deal where you made some moves on this side of the listing and made some moves on the other side of the purchase agreement, and you're more than able to do that without any restrictions from the NAR. But the general public doesn't understand this. They're saying that you can no longer post buyer agent commissions on the MLS, but that doesn't mean that you can't offer it. So it's going to be some confusing times between now and then, but look at the headlines already. You'll love this. CNN, the 6% commission on buying and selling a home is gone after Realtors Association agrees to seismic settlement. Is it? Powerful Realtor Group agrees to slash commissions to settle lawsuits. They did? They didn't. There's 3 provisions. And I won't be long-winded much longer here, but I really want people to understand this. Agents can expect to see the removal of the offer of compensation field in the MLS. But get this, they can still put that offer of compensation on their own broker's website. But nobody's going to bounce back and forth. Instead, brokers and agents will have to negotiate commissions directly with their client. Okay. Well, that may be challenging with your buyer saying, well, I'm going to charge you 2% the transaction, or you can go directly to the listing agent. Additionally, NAR is now requiring agents to enter into agreements before touring any property. So you call me up and you want to see houses, I have to have an agreement. Now, Redfin, you can click a mouse and you can schedule an appointment. They pay somebody $50 to open the door for you. Are they now going to be required to sign a buyer's agreement before they unlock the door? So this is going to get muddy. This all goes into effect in July. And brokerages all over the country are saying, Facebook's wild with speculation. People are just freaking out. I'm actually kind of enjoying it. But the thing, and Pat and I, you were just talking about this a little bit ago, that, okay, now they're saying that NAR is in talks with who is it? FHA?
FHA.
In being able to finance the buyer's agent commission in the transaction for the buyer. Aren't they doing that now anyway?
Yeah, because I mean, basically, let's just cut. If you want to slice the cow up or whatever, I mean, seller buyer commissions it's all built in. I mean, quite frankly, into the sales price, right?
Yeah.
So somebody's buying a $400,000 house. I mean, I look at the top price, purchase price. I mean so if they put 5% down, or let's say they loan them on 380, we're technically financing that in anyway. So it's no different. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, this is kind of what we went through with Dodd-Frank with setting our commissions back in 2010, 11, 12, back there, where they basically capped our commissions on loans, fees, which, obviously there's a lot of uproar for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, but people kind of settled into what was going to happen. I mean, you know, I've got caps on my loan amounts. I could do a $3 million loan, but my sweet spot's $385,000 to $400,000 because anything I make, you know, just quite frankly, if I do a $2 million loan, I'm capped at a certain amount.
Well, fees have always been negotiable. Here's one here. I think this is probably illustrates the biggest misunderstanding. NAR did not say goodbye to 6% rates. They didn't say that. They just said you're not allowed to post your buyer agent commission on the multiple listing service. They didn't say goodbye to anything. They said you're still able to offer it. Agents are still able to negotiate it. So if you want to be represented, negotiate with your buyer agent as to what their fees are. The NAR has never controlled that fee. So how can they say goodbye to something that they never had control over? So, but that's what the headlines are saying. And and real estate stocks got hammered today. Look at Zillow. They're down 13% today. EXP down 9.92%.
That's because you left. That's because you left.
That came out immediately after I sent them the email.
That's true. It wasn't because of NAR. It's because of you left.
Yeah. And imagine if Jessica was a publicly traded company.
Hey, that would have been,
Yeah. Maybe we can have an IPO on Tuesday.
Hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's get Pat working on that. So, but I affected the stock by almost 10%.
Okay, just a side note. I was looking at when you mentioned Zillow last week, or I saw it somewhere. I was going to buy a put on it last week actually because I was looking at around 57, 58. It looked like it was topping out price wise. I was tempted actually this last Monday. I could pull up on my computer. I was looking at buying a put, which, you know, you're betting that the stock goes down. I had a gut. It was a gut. I didn't move on the gut feeling, but my gut feeling was pretty close.
Well, why do you think their stock went down so much?
Well, just a fee. I mean, you know, they're looking at just keep it simple fees, you know, that they're, you know, number one, there'll probably be realtors that do get out of the business that probably can't handle this or can't, because correct me if I'm wrong, but there are going to be some changes, right? On how things are structured, how you negotiate. And I think it's going to wash out. I mean, some of the part-time agents, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you got to be good at negotiating. And I think you're going to have to be good at showing, you know, obviously good agents are good at showing their value, you know, what they bring. Like Jessica, you know, you guys, you do a fantastic job. Jackie does, Ruby, you know, agents I've worked with. There's a lot of other agents out there, but I think I'm just speaking as a third-party person. I think the days of just, you know, slapping a real estate, you have to, you know, you're going to have to, I think people, correct me if I'm wrong, but the consumer is probably aware of it now because of all this lawsuit. Well, all this lawsuit stuff coming out.
He's been asking, so.
Would you agree? I mean, you know, the consumer is kind of aware.
I think the pendulum's going to swing, Pat. I think the reason I think Zillow went down is that, you know, Zillow gets their money from premier agents. So they advertise to get buyer leads. And now they're thinking, well, if you're not going to make any more commission off of buyers, nobody's going to advertise to get buyer leads. Therefore, Zillow is going to have a rough quarter. That may be true.
They make a ton of money on the leads.
Now, so Jessica, let's say that we end up in a world where we don't offer any compensation to buyers agents at all. Okay. And you have 2 listings. Okay. How's somebody going to look at that house without you?
Internet is the only way, but without me, well,
yeah, they're going to have to request an appointment. They don't have access to the lockbox. They need you.
Right. Exactly.
So you're not going to be able to have more than 2 listings because you're going to be going back from house to house doing showings.
Correct.
And they're going to negotiate directly with you on their own. And I think buyers, where this could end up is they're going to, you know, a few buyers are going to get taken to the cleaners and go, I didn't know there was an inspection period. I didn't know there was this. I didn't know there was that. And there's going to be some lawsuits spring up over that may change the way real estate is bought and sold once, because that's how the buyer agent agreement came out in the first place, because buyers were getting hosed and they wanted representation. So now buyers are going to say, well, I'm going directly to the seller. Okay. go ahead. I'm not opposed to that. Go ahead. But sellers, are you really going to lower the price of your house like people think you are if you save on that buyer commission? Let's say you don't have to pay 10 grand on that side. Are you going to lower the price of your home 10 grand? Probably not.
I don't see that.
So I think we're going to see this just bounce around like crazy between now and July. And then
Can I just I'm gonna just in defense, there's good realtors out there. Jessica, you, Rick, Jackie, Ruby. I've worked with several real good real estate agents, but a good agent, it's kind of like a good attorney. They really watch out for you and they watch your back. I mean, I guess people could represent themselves in a lawsuit, but you're probably gonna get screwed.
Well, everybody in this lawsuit, when it's all shook out, is they're going to get less than $1 a piece.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, the attorneys
with you, and you can share a Costco hot dog.
The attorneys are gonna the bottom line is not to be the attorneys are gonna be the one that are making out on this thing. I mean, all these lawsuits flowing around, and just I've seen myself as a broker, I've seen how hard a good agent works and what they bring to the table to negotiate a good deal for their client. Working with them, it makes the transaction very smooth. I've seen, I'm sure, on the real estate agent, they've seen bad mortgage people and they've seen good mortgage people. But I mean, you have to have a good quality professional, and you get an agent that works hard. They're driving around. They're in the game. They know the game to give first-time home buyers obviously a lot of solid advice. And that there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, I think so. We've got Nicole here saying the UK and Australia, they don't have buyer's agents, right? We'll be going across the pond to see how they do it. I did watch an interview about a agent in the United Kingdom, and he had a staff of 36 people and listings. And, so he has this staff that's able to go out and show homes and stuff. And they don't have buyer broker agreements. They, do you want to see the house? It's my listing. Show up. They also don't have an MLS. So it's quite a bit different than what we're used to here. And, but I'm sure there's ways where that's working out there. I'm not in a panic about it at all. The thing that I'm pointing out today is that what you're reading right now is not right. It's not correct at all. They didn't get rid of the commissions. They didn't say no to 6%. That has worked its way out a long time ago. In fact, the average has been about 5 or 4 the past 3 years. It hasn't been 6. So the headlines they love to grab that, and they're wrong. Attorneys getting involved representing buyers in real estate conveyancing in Australia. We could see a rise of attorneys. You could see buyer's agents just reaching out to an attorney and say, mind if I send you this contract? So it could end up being more of an a la carte kind of a deal. But as a listing agent, we have to say, okay, how do we grant access now? If there's fewer buyer agents out there with their phone to be able to unlock the lockbox, how do we work through this? And we've got, till the middle of July to figure that out. And otherwise it can get a little hairy there. We have somebody in the green room trying to line up the camera there to get ready to go. Give us a thumbs up when you're ready. We'll pop you in right now. Was that a thumbs up? So there it is. Okay, here she goes. Here's Jackie. Welcome.
Oh. I'm in a hat. I said I wouldn't do this in a hat, but here I am. I have
I'll go get
so
my
much
hat
to say about this. I'm actually excited for this. Let me ask you a question. Pretend you're a consumer. When you start looking for a home, don't most consumers, they'll reach out to an agent. They can even be one of the Zillow leads, whatever. They reach out to an agent opens the door. They try to become their agent, right? You have no idea what this agent's experience is, correct? Typically.
right.
I have thought this for years. So first of all, I think the bar for entry should be much higher than what it is, because I've been doing this 34 years, like you guys know. Every single time the market gets good, everybody and their mother goes and gets their license. it floods the market with a bunch of inexperienced agents. And unfortunately, the experienced agents, and I'm sure you guys have all been through it, you end up doing the other agent's job for them during the transaction, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think with this, it is going to weed a lot of agents out. The other thing I think is the agents that are really good at listing presentations, they're going to be just fine. They're going to need to treat this like a buyer presentation, just like a listing presentation. They're going to have the opportunity. So we would do that with our clients, but it wasn't the norm. It's going to be forced to be the norm now. So we'll be able to sit down with our buyers and show the value, do a full listing presentation, but for a buyer presentation. And I honestly think the good agents are going to end up making more money. The bad agents are going to get out of the business. We're going to be able to show our value. When we meet with them the first time, we need to do that the buyer representation agreement. That is going to be a must. It's going to be required. There's going to be a lot of agents that are very nervous about doing that. They're not going to know how to show their value. They're not going to know how to ask for the value. You could sit down, say, this is what I charge, 3%. However, the seller may pay it for you. If the seller doesn't pay it for you, then we'll talk about it. We can always negotiate it if we need to. I'm super excited for this. I think it's going to make the business better. And I think the most important thing, it's going to give the consumer the opportunity to know what that buyer agent brings to them and the value, and show them what they're able to do to earn that commission. I'm excited. I think it's good.
That was the crutch of the ruling, that it just wasn't a very transparent number.
No.
Nope. And the buyers and the sellers didn't feel that they had much negotiating room. Now, every listing presentation I've gone on, that's the very first question they ask: what do you charge?
I never get asked.
I've always said, well, let's talk about what I do first, and then let's put the commission on the table later, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it at that point. But what do you mean you don't know? You signed a listing agreement that said you're going to pay me X and you're going to pay the other. You signed it right there. You initialed it, and then you signed the doc. So you knew. And so that's where I thought the our attorneys really fell flat. But but
absolutely.
I don't think there were any surprises out there. But
Rick, knowing you,
now you know how people feel like when I ask people, "What's your rate?" See?
That's right.
Yeah.
What's your rate, Pat?
What's your rate? Yeah.
But Rick, knowing you, and I've been on a listing presentation with you, knowing you, when you sit down, I know you said people typically ask that right up front, but a lot of times they don't. If you're a good presenter and you're taking them through everything, half the time we don't even get asked. A lot of times we don't get asked until right at the end. And then it's very rarely do we get a rebuttal on it, because you show your value. And now as a buyer's agent, you're going to be forced to show your value. And I think it's going to be a great thing for the industry and a great thing for the consumer.
Well, you charge 6, right?
Me?
Do you hear that? Yeah, Jessica, do you hear that? You charge 6, right?
Right. And then I usually react and say, no, 7. I don't know where you heard 6. There is no standard in the industry. Yeah. So now that we've got that on the table, let's talk.
Yeah. It's a fun discussion. I just, Facebook is out of control today, and it's very comical. And these agents are they're going and the pendulum swinging as far as it was when they said we were going to have 4 to 6 rate cuts this year, which is a great segue to ask Pat, where are we in the bond market today, Pat? Want me to throw that chart up?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You want me
Rick,
to throw
I'll
up?
find out. I can't hold the phone any longer.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks for dropping in.
Bye,
guys.
Amen to everything you said.
Huh?
I said amen to everything you said.
Oh, thanks. All right, guys. See ya.
I mean, today, this week, it's been obviously somewhat of a herky-jerky. We saw the 10-year look like it was going to get above 4.32. We got the CPI numbers that came out. So it's just been kind of one of those tug and pull things that we've seen the last month and a half. We got the, we had the bonds right here. We saw they were dropping in price. I mean, obviously in October, March, April, and we've seen this channel now. We're kind of stuck in this channel. yeah, we had a kind of a few bad days here. Well, this is going back to not days. I'm sorry, my bad. What am I doing here? Because I was 5-year chart. I mean, bonds were doing well. We saw a little pullback here this last week, but overall, we've been stuck. I mean, right now, once again, we're stuck pulling up a $475,000 purchase, 5% down, 780 FICO score. I mean, we're basically, we've been stuck in the 6 and 7% range, 7 and 8, give or take. So there's really, back in last year, we saw the Federal Reserve, obviously, with the increase in rates. Now this year, it's like, then October, November, they said they're going to start the car up and drive it down a cliff with rates. We didn't see that. I said this back in January. You've heard me say that. I said, be lucky if correct me if I'm wrong. Remember, I said we're not going to see 6 rate cuts. I was right. I said, I think we're going to probably see, if we see 2 rate cuts, that would probably be good. But right now, the economy is moving along. We're starting to see a heat up. I mean, the problem is on this, we're starting to see, the CPI has been coming down, but now the easy part's been it's the low hanging fruit from the CPI is pretty much out of the way. Now it's going to be hard to get down there 2% range. You're seeing these reactions now, like here's the CPI number, rates went up, PPI, the jobless claims. So we're starting to see some triggers and some, increase in inflation here the last couple of months. I still attribute it to the Red Sea, all the, shipping costs. I think that's why we're seeing a short-term pop in inflation, but, it's moderating, but it's still there. So I think this year is going to be, I don't see anything dramatic changes until maybe later this year, October, November, where we start to see, because right now, everybody knows the Fed will probably cut 1 or 2 times. That's what, that's the general consensus out there. Before now, the market's been reacting negatively because they thought they're going to do 6. They're like, oh, we might even not do any cuts. So now that we had some jittery stuff in January and February, but now we're starting to see this pattern where it's just a real sloppy time with rates. I mean, I think I'm starting to see people that are looking to buy. They're like, I don't see any change in rates. I'm just going to go ahead and probably do something here. I don't see them going through the roof, but I don't see them going down either. So we're kind of stuck in this high 6 range for a while, I think.
Well, I've been waiting for it, and it finally showed up this Monday. I was in a follow-up appointment at the doctor's office, and the nurse's assistant started talking real estate, and she goes, I'm waiting till see what happens after the election. I bit my tongue. I just think, which has made a difference. Never, ever. Cromford even came out with that stuff a while back and said, Stebney here says Bernanke recently has stated real estate rates should be 3 to 4% interest rates, not 2 as a new standard. You touched on that, Pat, a long time ago, saying that number was just kind of picked out of thin air, right?
Yeah, that's a number that, that was picked out of a thin number, 25 or thin air about 20 years ago, 25 years ago at Borden. So it's just, they're so fixated on this 2% range. And they look at historic data. They don't look at real data. So I think that's why they're being very conservative as far as lowering rates, because I don't see them. They definitely don't want to drop rates. If they get in a pickle, like we've seen inflation increase the last couple of weeks in some different data points, then they're going to be really screwed. So I think it's going to be here for longer. And this 2% number was just, I just can't believe that these guys are that's dumb where you've got wages. I mean, 25 years ago, I mean, the minimum wage was like, I remember back when I started working, the minimum wage was like $2.65. Now you're talking, wages of, $13, $14, $15, $20. You can't have that number at 2% just based on the wage standard. That's just that's my take on it.
I was $1.10.
Yeah, I was 265. So,
of course, I was 15. You're $1.10 at 15. You're like, hey, by the end of the summer, I'll be able to buy a
But
bike.
yeah, so I think they're coming out with next week's gonna be an interesting week though with the Fed, because they're obviously the announcement, and that obviously this is the next week, and they do this 4 times a year where they give the dot plots. So there's probably gonna be some volatility next week based on what the Fed's. I think they kind of know what they're gonna do, but there's gonna be probably some volatility next week.
I think so, but it's just I'm going to be reading stuff all weekend about this this settlement today. I just think it's going to be very, very entertaining for me. I like change. I don't really care where this goes either way.
Yeah.
I'll analyze it. I'll try to figure out an opportunity somewhere in there to work around it, to make it work for clients. And I mean, I'm sure Jessica, you probably feel the same way. Just like
21 plus years in real estate, and I always stress in the last 5 or 6 years, I'm like, hey, you just got to take the hills and roll with it.
You never stress with me. It's smooth sailing with me always.
Take the hills. I can see you in a flak jacket already. So
right.
Jessica and I, we never stress. I mean, I submitted a deal, 5 days from submission to clear to close, 5 days.
Yeah, it was a simple phone call. Are you on it? Okay, good. Just making sure you're on it.
Well, now, Pat, let's hope this rain stops tomorrow. What is the weather prediction? Because you are St. Patrick tomorrow in the St. Patrick Day Parade on Central. And I urge all of you out there, if you're at the parade and you see him, you be sure and ask him, Pat, what's your rate?
Yeah.
So,
or McMortgage.
I mean, and shout it loud. 20%
chance of rain tomorrow.
I do. I have it on my phone. I don't have it on the computer, but I did post it in the community tab on my channel. So you are out there. I don't want to scare people. So no, it's a great pick. So, but that's get out there, get to the parade, and look for Pat and shout it out and say, now I'm gonna jump over here real quick. Just let more people know, because we do this every week. But here's where we are in the CMI for everybody. A lot more red numbers than there are green numbers. So it did change a little bit. We have like 7 cities showing an increase, 10 have declined, and it's just as directly, related to rates. So it's just going to be that way. The green line, red line, green line every week. So I look at this, the Cromford report. There are some numbers that are daily, but for the most part, things are updated every Monday, like active listings, pending listings. The CMI data is updated every day. I can look at daily or weekly, but real estate doesn't move that fast, so I don't need to do that. We got drink a Guinness, not a green Bud Light. There's a man that knows his beer.
Nothing but Guinness.
So,
hey, I want to put in that. Can I put in that quick plug about? I mean, I told you about that Home Ready First program. I'm doing it. Obviously, it's a great program. I mean, there's certain areas. I'm not plugging myself. If somebody's got a broker, mortgage guy, feel free to call me. If you're working with somebody, I'd be more than still happy to answer your questions. But there's selected geographic areas throughout the country, like Washington, D.C., Virginia. There's different areas. But I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to mention it again because I basically got approved on my first one. But there's certain areas of Phoenix, like Glendale, Peoria. If you're a first-time home buyer, you got a 680 FICO score or higher. There's no income limitations on this program. I told Jessica about it, but there's no income limitations. Usually grant programs have, you can only make up to like say $60,000, $70,000. There's no income limitation, but you get $10,000 that can be used for down payment and or payment assist, down payment or closing costs. And you get $500 for appraisal and $500 for home warranty. So you get $11,000. There's one lender that offers that. There's some lenders that offer $5,000. I got one lender. You have to have good credit for this lender, but it's a 680 or higher FICO score. But you get $10,000. There is no strings attached. Usually there's like costs or there's fees that are thrown into these first time home buyer programs, or, like down payment assistance programs, or there's always a higher rate. But I got a guy, 6 3/8 on a 30-year fixed, which is, it's at a home ready first, and you get actually lower MI. You get low. It's a little bit lower rate. There's certain areas, Glendale, Peoria, Maricopa, some of the outer lying areas of Phoenix. And if somebody wants to email me or email you, I can send them a link, or they can send me their current address, and I can tell them, well, you have to live in a certain area. You can buy anywhere, but basically you have to live in a certain area to be able to use this program. So if anybody's in the Phoenix metropolitan area looking up, or might have a friend, they might be interested, email Rick or me, and I can get you some information on it.
Yeah, we've got to get you on the website too, Pat. Right now we have either, azinvest.com or rickhelpsrealestate.com will take you here. And it's real simple.
Yeah.
Search for Phoenix area properties, Tucson area properties. If you want a detailed home report, you send this, we'll get it out to you. And then down here's all the cities. You can either access them there, or you can look at them from the drop-down window. And now I haven't populated Tucson in that kind of a detail yet. I've just done Tucson, but I'll be able to filter out and do different neighborhoods in Tucson. But it's all right there. You go Cave Creek. Once you get in there and take a look at it, it'll show you what's available. But then you can sign up in the right-hand corner here to get your own portal. So it'll save everything that you're looking at, and you can change your own filters and stuff. So it's exactly what we use on the MLS when we're looking for homes. So I hope people get a chance, go in there and take a look at that and tool around, and let me know if there's something else that you think that we should add on this website besides Pat's smiling face. And you'll notice I even left mine off. I'll probably just include Jessica's, just because. And
I'll need bodyguards now, so just be prepared.
Yeah, that's right. So Blue Pool here, one of our favorite subscribers, provide detailed on that program Pat described and not get in my head. By the way, we have no debt and 849 FICO. So
if he wants to email me, I can send him some information on it. Blue Pool, if you want, I can send you it. It's pretty basic. I can, if you send an email to Rick, I can send you the email, some information on it.
Rick at rickhelps.com. We'll get that right out to you.
Yeah.
We have Vanilla Ice here. New proposed rules are bad for buyers. It will likely not impact home prices. And now it's likely buyers will have to pay commissions on top of sales price. I think initially, this isn't good news for buyers.
This is not going to be, this is going to certainly put a cringe on home, first time home buyers. I mean, they're scraping around for money anyway. Like the program I just talked about. I mean, it's a great program. I mean, like you said, it's free. It literally, it's kind of weird, but it's free money. So,
well, it's going to be confusing for buyers at first, and just as we're already seeing in emails and stuff going back and forth, and we'll work through it. So
Stephanie said, she asked if there's a question, is 5.875 a good rate for a new build in Phoenix today? Yeah, that's a damn good rate. Yeah. I don't know if they're what kind of buy down, or what they're doing a permanent buy down, or how they're getting at her. But obviously the builders, there's a lot of rates that we as brokers we typically can't compete with builders now with their incentives. Honestly, the honest answer is that's where new builds have been kicking tail. But because once again, I think it's a different product. I've talked to Jess and you about it, but it's a different product where they can buy down the rate. They can take their money from the whatever money they're making and subsidize their rate. So 5.875, I'd grab that all day long.
Are you seeing, Jessica, that builders are starting to pull away some incentives?
Not at all. And not with my experience. Most of the builders that I've written contracts with, as well as in the past few months, they are leading the market. It's really hard to pull a buyer back into the resale market once they see the opportunities of the incentives that are still being offered. Most of it is the bulk loan buy downs, which is what Patrick, you can compete with all the 2-1 buy downs.
Oh yeah, all day long. Yeah,
it's the bulk massive buy down rate that they incentivize of upfront start, and it's fixed. 4.99, 5.255, and those they bring a buyer into an affordable price range. So I have not seen any, I won't name a builder, but I've seen them give more incentives to buyers, not necessarily agents. And
Yeah.
Well,
they're-
and I don't, so now this, builders are not going to be constrained by offering buyer agent commissions either on this. They're
Sure.
not affected at all because they can advertise it on their own site. And one of the ways I described commissions once for buyer's agent is, for example, Pat, if somebody stole your motorcycle and it's a sweet ride, would you offer a reward to get it back?
Yeah, probably would. But it sounds like a trick question, but yeah, I would.
Well, let's say, Jessica, do you have any pets?
if you count my children and husband, sure.
Okay, yeah. So now, so I won't rope your husband into this, and I won't ask you what your favorite kid is. But if your favorite kid was taken away, would you offer a reward to bring him back?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, if I lost a dog and I wanted, how depends on how bad I want the dog back, I'm going to have to offer a reward. That's what the buyer's agent commission was. I really want to sell this house, and I'm going to offer you agents a reward to go find me a buyer, and that's so we do have Jackie back here. She's chomping at something there. What do you got for us, girl?
So I had to get back on because I do think it could be very beneficial to consumers. It's going to take a while and there's going to be some bumps in the road. But here's the thing. It's going to get rid of all the bad agents out there. And so a good agent, you get a bad agent, they're not that great at negotiating, especially when you get to the inspection period. A good agent is going to be able to construct that offer, because here's the one good thing that did happen that I was fearful that might go away, because the DOJ was involved and they were not wanting anybody to settle, and they had their thumb on this whole thing, and they were leaning toward making co-brokes go completely away, where sellers weren't going to be allowed to pay it. So I think this is a good thing, this settlement, because that didn't happen. That would have been disastrous, especially to the first-time home buyer, because they would have been forced to have to pay a commission if they wanted representation. And it would have created a lot of dual agency, which, we all know there can be a lot of problems with dual agency. So, but that didn't happen. The co-broke can still be paid. So you weed out all the bad agents out there. A good agent on a listing appointment is going to be able to explain to a seller why it's a good thing to still offer a co-broke. A good buyer's agent is always able to construct an offer in a much better way for their client, and they're much better at negotiating through the inspection period. They're much better at getting concessions for the client. There's going to be a better caliber agent, and it's going to benefit the consumer. And because the DOJ didn't get their way, I'm super excited. I think it's going to be good for the agents that remain in the business, and I think it's going to be really good for the consumers once we get through the bumps.
Yeah, the DOJ was about to make this get really ugly.
Yeah.
I was just cringing when I saw them getting involved. Like, oh man, don't do it. So I was asked here, Rick, where is your data analyst these days? Referring to Ringo, my pug. I had to rehome him to a home with 2 more dogs. He was as good of a dog as he was rebelling. He did not like being alone. And if I was doing something and I wasn't back at 6 o'clock, he was tearing things up. And I tried to kennel train him and everything. And it just found a home that had 2 other dogs and had him stay over there for the weekend. And he loved it and he's happy. And so Ringo is doing well. I don't know if he's analyzing any data over there though. So, I tried to get him on a show a couple of times. I actually put him up on a stool here, got him and he kept jumping off. So, I work for a new builder. First thing I picked out, how shocking how many bad agents there is out there. I take care of the good ones. I hear you. Oh gosh.
Well, what I found out, there's a lot of good
it,
people that I'm going to just jump in here. Being a mortgage guy, I mean, there's good agents out there, and they're, like you said, good agents, mortgage people, whatever. But I'm amazed at now all you guys, all 3 of you guys, and the only agents I really like to deal with are ones that really know how to negotiate. And they negotiate the right way. They don't create any drama when something comes up. They just, basically say, hey, all right, we got a situation. What do we have to do to solve it? There's way too many inexperienced agents out there that just get, Jesus Christ, I swear to God, they get in their head in a tizzy when, if whatever, something small, we're like, are you kidding me? It's just,
now it's their past act tough now.
yeah.
Right.
And I got to act tough and I got to be this. There's nothing worse. I'm just kind of speaking, like I said, from my general experience, there's nothing worse than dealing with an agent that just always is dealing in a spirit of conflict versus cooperation. And when you deal in a spirit of cooperation versus conflict or confrontation, it's always confrontation. It's like, no, what? We're all trying to close this deal together. Why are you butting heads against me? But the good agents, like all you guys, and ones I've worked with in the past, they're all working toward one goal, and that's to get the deal closed. But you got some agents out there that try to act like the ass that, excuse my French, but it's like, really, I'm like, you're making this way too much difficult. You're making this a lot more difficult than it should be. And it's, I'm a mortgage broker. You're a real estate agent. This isn't brain surgery. Let's just shut up and get this deal done. Let's make the client happy. I mean, all of you guys are
there's been some great
negotiating. Negotiating is the number one thing. No, I found out they're not good negotiators.
Well, and the good agent that's a good negotiator, not to cut you off, Pat, here's the thing. I'm not worried about my buyers that I work with because, we'll get that agreement signed up front. We'll present everything to them. We'll explain everything to them, which I think it's so much better because transparency is nothing but good. And because those bad agents are going to get out of the business, and I think it's going to happen really super fast, you're going to have good listing agents and good buyer agents. And I'm not worried that my buyers are going to end up paying more because I know there's a high it's highly like, oh God, I can't get that out. Highly likely, say that 3 times, you guys. Highly likely that I'm going to be able to communicate with that other agent on the listing side to be able to negotiate my commission on behalf of my buyers so that my buyers don't have to pay it.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad the DOJ didn't get their way.
Yeah. Now we're asked what was the DOJ doing? They wanted to completely decouple it and completely eliminate buyers agents. They wanted no such thing. They were going to
allow buyer agents, Rick, but buyers had to pay their own agents. They wanted the party that was hired to be the party paying. So that would have been a disaster.
Yeah, it would have been rough. Federal Reserve can lower recent inflation spike 2 ways. Higher rates or high unemployment. Both are bad for home sales. Well, they're trying. Whether or not we have a soft landing is on a whole nother show. Get more bees with honey. Bad agents put the tough act. Good ones asking for professional and polite. I had a guy come into an open house once. He was just grandstanding, and he comes in and he tells his client, he goes, "Oh, I can tell you right now, this place $10,000 overpriced, blah, 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 blah." And the client went in the back, and I went up to him. I go, "You don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Look at the house, and then you guys can go in your car and you can talk about it. And if you want to write me an offer, you can write me an offer." I said, "But you don't have to grandstand in front of me."
Yeah.
But he was like, he was trying to show her that he was willing to negotiate in good faith, and be tough about it. And I had one recently where the agent was telling me all these things that his buyer was not going to accept from us. And well, no, my buyer doesn't want that. And I said, "Well, have you talked to him?" Because every idea that I brought up to him had never been brought up before. And he hadn't spoken to his buyer about any of them at all. And it went full circle right back to the original offer that I said that I was willing to do. And I thought, I got off the phone. I go, he's never even spoken with his buyer.
But it's amazing. I mean, when you get, like you said, I found out, when Jessica probably attest to this, when you got, tough agents act, tough, and you got other agents that are acting, hey, let's work together. Let's get this done. It's amazing what you can accomplish, because the whole goal is to help the client. My whole goal is to get the best rate in the next 30 days. Obviously, Jessica, we have a deal going. I waited. We got we got rolling. We got the thing closed. I mean, we're moving very quickly on this deal, but it's all about helping the client achieve that goal of getting in that home and not just working together,
We had a comment here too about it's tough for sellers, bad for sellers, but we're sitting at a 82% acceptance rate, new contracts and new listings. That's not bad. You can see it in the ticker below. So it is slower for sellers, but it's not bad out there.
No.
I mean, you're not seeing it bad, right, Jessica?
No. If it's priced right, shows well, it's under contract.
Yeah. You can't sit on your hands. You don't have to make the decision in the driveway like you did a couple of years ago, but it's not, I mean, I hope we're not scaring anybody to say it's a bad time to list your home because they're moving. When we don't have a strong spring market, it looks more to me like a normal subdued spring market, but we're used to that stratosphere market. Oh, I've been listed for a week and I've only had 3 showings. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's instead of 3 showings before noon.
This market the last several years, even since 2008, 2009, 10, it kind of subdued in 13, 14, 15. It was moving along 17. But we've been on crack cocaine since 17, 18, 19. And now we're just kind of sipping Pinot Noir in our backyard. That's the way the market's just kind of moving. It's just like before, it was like, oh my God, we got this. It's just like,
Boy, Pat, we had to wait a long time before we finally got a Pat analogy in there. Usually 23 minutes in, you've got a good one, but you waited a while.
But I think the market's been moving along, but it is subdued. But it's still strange. But I think this is going to be like this. I don't see anything really drastically jumping out.
Well, we're going to cut away on that, Jessica. I can't wait to work with you. This is going to be a lot of fun. Pat, good luck at the parade tomorrow, and keep your ears open for Pat. What's my rate? And you got to listen for it. And
I'm going to the Cubs game. I'm going to the Cubs game on Sunday. So,
all right, we'll have a good time. Everybody, thanks for showing up, and have a great weekend. Stay dry out there. See ya.